Welcome to Case by Case. We want to just take a moment and remind you that this content is intended for adult audiences. It is created for educational and informational purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised, as discussions may include references to real criminal cases, violence, and other sensitive and potentially distressing topics. While we strive to present every case with accuracy and respect those involved, the material may not be suitable for all viewers. Please proceed thoughtfully. And remember, if you need to take a step back, if you find something that concerns you, if you find it to be triggering and you need to take a step back, please do. You can join us whenever you're ready to come back. We'll leave the light on. Welcome back to Case by Case. We are going to be picking up where we left off on the Rebecca Park case. What a sad situation this really is. You've got a family that is all involved with taking the life of Rebecca and her unborn child. We still do not know where the child is, but we have recovered Rebecca's body. And now there have been some arrests made, and that's what we discussed in the last episode. So we're going to finish up that probable cause affidavit, and then we're going to go into a couple of others, because after the arrest of Courtney, the mother, and Bradley, the stepfather, there was also an arrest of Kimberly, Rebecca's sister, and Rich, the fiance. So we're going to go through those and wrap this case up for now. This case is relatively new, so we should be looking at some court hearings and trial at some point, unless everybody pleads out. So that's where we're at. So then the detective asked Courtney that if Bradley is paying Rich back, why cut the baby out? She said because if he would have left the baby in there and had somebody found her before, he would have survived, he would have thought. Courtney was asked why not just cut the baby out and kill it, why take it. She said that he told her the baby wasn't breathing when he pulled him out. Again, she was asked why he'd take it. Now she answers it was because he didn't want Rich to see they were together. She admitted she didn't know what that meant. Yeah, she's just making stuff up as she goes along at this point, it looks like. When asked about where the baby is now, Courtney said that he put him in a blue cooler, in a trash bag, and in a GFL container. She confirmed that she is talking about a residential GFL trash receptacle. Courtney said she was never at the location where the body was found because he wouldn't let her. She doesn't know how many times he went to the location. When asked if she was killed at the location she was found or at the end of her driveway, she answers that she doesn't know, but said it wasn't in her driveway because he pulled away quickly with her. Okay, so she's just back and forth all over the place. Courtney said that he walked out of his truck and not the house to get her out of the truck, confirming that it was from the escape and into the F-150. Now, I can't help but wonder if this is the same F-150 they were talking about, where the seats had to be replaced, and they said that it hadn't run, or the tag ran out, or something happened that they weren't driving this, but I believe this is the same vehicle. When the detective reminded Courtney that she knew where the knife was at, she said he threw it in a dumpster at Cadillac Shores. When asked when he had done that, she first announced that it was her hunting knife. She said it was probably like a week after that the knife was put in the dumpster. She did not know what happened to the disposable scalpel, adding she had no clue and wished she knew. Agent asked Courtney what she was looking for in an immunity agreement, what she was afraid of, and then confronted her that she'd provided a lot of misinformation to the police. She reassured us that she would cooperate the whole way. Detective pointed out her obstruction of the investigation, and she agreed. When asked about the seat covers, Courtney said Bradley burned them. She also said that Bradley went out and cleaned the truck, specifically mentioning the dash. She described that the cloth was burned and the bucket was taken back into the house. Courtney didn't think the floor in the truck was cleaned. Courtney was asked about the Kimmy stuff, and she suggested that Kimberly doesn't know anything. She was just trying to feel important. Agent confronted Courtney that she was the person who told us recently that Kimberly was in the black car. She reported that Bradley came up with the story about Kimberly. Courtney said she knew that Kimberly told us that she hit Courtney, wait a minute, let's back up. Courtney said she knew that Kimberly told us that Courtney hit her and hid her body. Okay. When asked how she knows that Kimberly told us this, Courtney said that she told Ashley and reported Ashley is Rich's baby mama. Ashley Crozy has a child with Rich Fowler. I mean, it's hard to even keep up with all the people that are sleeping with him. Courtney said that, but I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's hard to keep up. Courtney said that all that Kimberly did was lie to the police and had no involvement. She also said that Rich was also not involved, but she did say she didn't know if he deleted anything from Rebecca's phone or not. Agent asked about a text message about not allowing anyone from the state of Michigan on her property, and Rebecca saying they should talk about that, so she is clear on what that means. Courtney denied sending such a message. Agent asked when she first learned what had really happened, and she said it was after her body was found. Agent then pointed out she could have covered herself if she'd cooperated on Monday at Mount Pleasant. Agent asked how Bradley told her how he had killed Rebecca, and she said, he told me that he slit her effing throat. And if any of you wonder why I'm saying effing instead of spelling it out, well, typically I don't use that word, and I know that sometimes YouTube will flag things, so I'm just trying to make sure that I update YouTube that this is information, educational purposes only, and it's all public record, and I'm trying not to do anything additional that will throw a flag. I don't know if it will or won't, but I'm just being cautious. When he asked how she told him that he cut the baby out, she said, he had one of my scalpels. She denied that he said how he did that, then said, he just said that I cut him out. That was it. That was all he said. Agent asked about the baby getting cut out, being put in a garbage bag and put in a blue cooler, and what he said about that. She said that he just said he took him, put him in a garbage bag, stuffed him in a cooler, and threw him in a trash dumpster. She knows that it was that specific cooler because his work cooler's gone. She shows the size as a lunchbox-sized cooler and described it as a soft-sided cooler with hard plastic inside to keep the sides supported, and it has a black strap. Courtney reported the garbage bags came from her house, and she knows this because she counts her garbage bags. And she noticed that 2 of her garbage bags are gone. Okay, why would you count your garbage bags? That doesn't make any sense to me to count garbage bags. The hunting knife is described by Courtney as being green, having serrated blade on one side and a flat blade on the other side, and is a fixed blade, not a folding knife. She is sure that Bradley used that knife. The knife was purchased at Walmart within the last year, and she provided a description of it. When asked if she noticed any items missing out of Kimberly's purse, she didn't report any. Courtney denied that Bentley knows anything. That's her other son, remember, that's 16. We took a break and moved Courtney into another room. On Sunday, November 30th, at 1827, Agent and I, the 2 agents, began a second recorded interview with Bradley. We reminded Bradley that the rights we discussed earlier still applied, and he agreed he was still good with it. So they basically just said, you do remember that you were Mirandized and you had the rights and you still agree with them. I think this will be is this his second or third interview that he's going into? Sorry, I had to take a drink of water. or coffee. Pisker, the agent, notified Bradley that Courtney was putting it all on him. He broke down details that Courtney had provided. Agent explains how the investigation has come down to involving himself and Courtney. Agent explains how we believe it went down and how evidence will support the investigation. An appeal to Bradley was made that he needed to tell the truth. Bradley's confronted with how much gas he put in the truck when he was at the gas station on Sunday after leaving the hospital, and he reported $5. I don't know about y'all, but $5 is not going to take my truck but cross the street. When asked about information he feels we should know that we haven't already discussed, Bradley reports that he knows his lunch cooler is missing and describes it as being blue and thinks it's an Oregon Trail brand. He said it's big enough to hold an 8-pack of pop bottles. His description of the cooler is basically the same as Courtney's. He estimates the cooler has been missing for 2.5 weeks. Bradley's not aware of Courtney counting their garbage bags because of Bentley's use of them. Now, I mean, I've had 16-year-olds in my house when they were growing up, and I never counted any trash bags because of them. In fact, they were the ones that took out the trash. The guys did. The boys took out the trash. So I would have had no reason to. I don't know. It's odd. We confront Bradley that she is blaming him for dumping the body and putting the baby in his lunchbox. It is explained that she's attempting to place the blame on him. Bradley is confronted with the statement he made in his first interview that Rebecca was stabbed. Agent asked him about that statement again and how he knows she was stabbed. Agent pointed out that both he and Courtney have reported on the scalpel and that you don't need to make a stabbing motion with a scalpel to slice someone open. It is pointed out that Courtney said he is threatening her, including in the parking lot prior to them leaving for their interviews on Monday. It's also shared with him that she identified that it was revenge for Fowler turning on him last year for his sex offender violation, to which he responded, "That's bullshit." It is explained that what Courtney had said about why the baby was cut out of Rebecca during a revenge murder doesn't make sense. We remind him of the NICU story and her attempts to get custody of Kimberly and Rebecca's children. So what you've got now is you basically got, they had her in one room listening to her. She's throwing him under the bus. He's already thrown her under the bus. Now he's saying the cooler was missing. I don't know what happened to it. She's saying, no, that was his cooler, and he told me what he did with the cooler and with the baby. And so now he's saying, yeah, no, none of that's right. So Bradley begins to tell us, I'm sure Courtney stabbed her because she did have a hunting knife. It helps if you read the sentence correctly. He reported the case for the knife went into the trash bin and thinks it might be still in the bin. He identified that the knife went into the trash at Cadillac Shores. He reports that Courtney is the one who cut the baby out of Rebecca. He confirms that he witnessed it. It had taken place right where she is laying out on the trails behind the house. He confirmed that is the reason he told an officer to check the trails behind the house. He reported that he knew Rebecca had a bunch of leaves on her because Courtney buried her in leaves where she was found. Bradley confirmed that a scalpel from the bedroom was used. When he was asked if the baby was alive when he was cut out, he responded no. He confirmed that it was just the two of them that were present. When agent asked when she stabbed her, where did she stab her, Bradley said in the truck. When asked what location on Rebecca's body had Courtney stabbed her, he responded he didn't know as he jumped out of the truck. I mean, I don't want to be too graphic here, but just for the sake of argument, imagine you're sitting in there with your wife or your husband, and all of a sudden now I don't know how they got Rebecca to the car for sure, but Rebecca's there, she's alive, and she starts stabbing her. I'd jump out of the truck too and run to the nearest phone if I couldn't stop her. And it's hard to stop someone if they're in a stabbing frenzy. But I'm not saying I believe his story, but I'm just saying that's You would jump out of the truck. Bradley reported that Rebecca had gotten into the white truck voluntarily. Okay, I just answered that question that I wondered. He confirms that the plan to get the Tide Pods was legitimate, and he was unaware that the plan was to stab her. He denied that there was a plan of this. While in the pickup, Bradley said he was driving. Courtney was in the passenger seat and Rebecca in the middle. He claimed not to know what Courtney had told Rebecca to get her into the truck. Because remember, Courtney said Rebecca and Kimberly could not stand Bradley because he was a sex offender. Again, YouTube, it's public information. This is public knowledge. This is for information only. And we're just reading from a public document that's available. While in the pickup, Bradley said he was driving. Courtney was in the passenger seat and Rebecca in the middle. He claimed not to know okay. Initially, Bradley was in the house with Bentley, and he said he went outside to get away from everything so he didn't have to worry about Rebecca coming in. He denied getting a phone call from Courtney that they were in the driveway. When he got outside, Courtney and Rebecca were in the Escape, and Courtney had said she blew out a tire on the Escape, so they got in the truck. So from here, they get on the trail to the woods because the truck doesn't have a valid plate. Bradley said, that's what the original story was that the plates had expired, so he quit driving it. But then all throughout this story, you've got this one driving it and that one driving it and, everybody driving it. Okay, so Bradley said that Courtney was mad because Rebecca was always bad-mouthing her and wouldn't give her a chance to be a mom. Bradley confirmed that Courtney wanted the baby for herself. Despite Courtney wanting the baby, Bradley said it was unrealistic to expect that Courtney would be allowed to adopt the baby. Bradley described that the actual stabbing began when Courtney just grabbed the knife and started stabbing at her. The knife had been down on Courtney's right. He said she stabbed her in the chest as far as he knew. Said he jumped out of the truck when Courtney started swinging, so he wasn't sure. So he jumped out of the truck thinking, I might get some of this on me. I might get stabbed. He wasn't concerned about Rebecca. That's clear. Bradley knew they were on the trails and said he could take officers to the scene. Agent asked at what point did they realize that Rebecca's dead, and he identified it was after Courtney cut the baby out of her. He said that Courtney tried CPR on the baby. Just horrible. Bradley said that Rebecca was not in the truck when Courtney cut the baby out of her. Okay, so evidently she moved her to the trails, to the ground, and did this. He said that Courtney tricked her to get her out of the truck. But wait a minute, she started stabbing her in the truck. So did she not do fatal damage in the truck to her? All right, well, let's keep reading. Maybe it'll answer our questions. He said that Courtney tricked her to get her out of the truck and made her start walking after she'd already been stabbed. Okay, Rebecca walked behind the truck, but is unable to run due to her pregnancy. When Agent asked what Courtney did to kill Rebecca, he explained that Courtney had Rebecca lay down as she was still alive, and she cut the baby out of her. Oh, my Lord. This woman was still alive. Bradley said he was beside the trail telling Courtney that she doesn't need to do that. That's not right. They did not have the bag or the cooler that the baby is evidently or eventually put in at this time. I can't even. I did not have a close relationship with my mother, my bio mother, for many, many years, but I don't believe she would have done something like that to me. And I certainly wouldn't have done something like that to her. It's hard to fathom. I mean, it's really, really hard. Now the baby's cut out, Bradley said. They just leave Rebecca there. He identified that he couldn't tell if she was dead or not. Courtney decided that they should head to the house. Courtney's holding the baby on her lap as Bradley drives. Courtney said the baby never took a breath, and he never heard the baby cry. It took about 5 minutes to get back to the house. Bradley stated that Courtney took the baby into the house, into her bedroom, where she was trying to perform CPR on the baby, which is on a towel on the bed. He also said he tried to perform CPR on the baby by doing chest compressions and breathing into his mouth. He said this went on for about 15 minutes after they arrived at home. This is so sad and tragic. Just so horrible. Bradley reported that Courtney went to the kitchen, got a garbage bag, and placed the baby in a garbage bag and went outside with the baby. He identified that the cooler was in the bed of the white truck, and he saw the baby go into the cooler. He explained that the baby went into the cooler because the cooler could be zipped up and it had the baby in it, and dispose of the cooler and not be seen. Bradley said that the same night, this is hard. This is so hard. Again, I don't know if I gave enough trigger warnings. This is so difficult. This was my hesitation in doing this case because I have such a hard time with this. I mean, I get so angry. I mean, I just want to lash out at this woman myself. Okay. Let's take a deep breath. Let's keep moving through it. Okay, the cooler was in the bed. Okay, so Bradley said that the same night he is with Courtney. He's now driving the truck, and they went and disposed of the knife first, and they put the baby in a GFL tote at a house north of their residence where there had been some logging done recently. Now, remember, GFL is that residential waste company that they use. I think it's a nationwide company. I think we've got it here, too. We don't use it, but I think we've got it here, too. Bradley denied burning the seat covers from the truck and said Courtney burned them. He did say he cleaned inside of the truck using a gray bucket and some bleach and water. He denied cleaning the floor and believes there will be blood on the floor of the truck. Now, she said the floor was not cleaned either. So that's one thing. The other thing, too, is from a legal standpoint, it really wouldn't matter at this point. I mean, even if it wasn't a conspiracy, even if he didn't know, he's definitely involved because he helps cover up. And he was there and he didn't do anything. So, my dog may start barking. So if she does, nope, she's okay. All right. Sometimes she just goes on these sprees where she starts barking. Bradley denied placing the phone on the 2-track. But again, said he found the phone on the 2-track. Now, all throughout this, I've wondered what a 2-track is. I think that is like a dirt road through the woods. And it looks like, a trail, but it's where people drive. I don't know. If anyone knows, you can let me know, but that's what I think it is. He did agree he had the 550 phone on his person on Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Agent confronts Bradley that if Courtney told him to do this, we want him to tell us how. He denies that he stabbed Rebecca. When Agent asked Bradley about the card found with Rebecca, he said he didn't know anything about it and couldn't recall what it was, but knew it was on social media. He did not see a card when he left the area. He also did not see another weapon or tools when he was at the scene or anything else. Bradley doesn't know if anyone has been to the scene where Rebecca's body was since she was killed, and he denied that he had been back to the scene since. When Bradley was asked about Rebecca not having shoes on, he appeared surprised by that. Bradley gives a description of where Rebecca's body was in relation to the trail and where things occurred. He denied that Courtney had asked him to position the truck so the truck lights would assist. He said the light shining around the side of the front of the truck was enough illumination for Courtney to cut the baby out. When he left, the body was still on the same hill. Courtney covered Rebecca with leaves, but denied branches were placed on her. At the time, the baby was on a towel next to Courtney. Questioning the presence of a towel, Bradley is asked if he thinks Courtney planned this, and he said, I have a feeling she did, but she never told him of the plan. Bradley did not see Courtney place a towel or the hunting knife in the truck. Using a Wexford County map, Bradley showed the route of travel he took and approximately where they were. He agreed he would take officers out and show them where things had taken place on Monday, November 3rd, 2025. While discussing if there was any blood on any of the clothing he and Courtney had been wearing that night, he identified that when they got home, Courtney changed into a nightgown. Previously had said they'd gone out and disposed of the baby and the knife that night. Now, when asking about this, Bradley said that the baby stayed in the cooler that night on the back porch. Oh my God. He now reported it was Wednesday, November 5th, when the items were placed in dumpsters, specifically because Thursday is garbage day. He said that it was Courtney who placed the cooler with the baby in it in the garbage tote. They were in the escape when they discarded the knife and the baby. Bradley said one of the things that he believes Courtney said after he couldn't revive the baby was, "The bitch killed my baby." You know, I'm just not quite sure why Courtney believed that this was her baby and that she was entitled to this child. I mean, it makes no sense. And it seems like she was having this affair with Rebecca's boyfriend or fiance so that she could have another baby. And if you want to have another baby, fine. But why did she think Courtney's child was going to be hers? I don't really get this. I mean, I can't get my mind wrapped around that. Bradley reported that he watched Courtney. The knife was placed in the glove box of the Ford Escape, and he believes that there will likely be blood located in the glove box. All right, so he basically reported he watched her put the knife in there. On Sunday, November 30th, 2025, at 20:50, agents began a second recorded interview with Courtney. Okay, so this is her second. As she enters the interview room, she reports she's ready to go home. Well, look, sister, you're not going anywhere for a long time, so you might as well just sit down and shut up. When it's pointed out that she's saying it's all Bradley, when asked what she thinks Bradley has been saying, she reported he's probably saying it's both of them, and we confirm her statement and say that we know they are both present. Courtney denies that she wanted the baby for herself. She admitted that Bradley brought the baby to the house and told her the baby was not breathing. Courtney said she told him to call 911, but Bradley said they weren't doing that. She denied getting involved and said it was because she has Bentley and can't put herself in a position like that. Courtney reported that the day the drones were flying around, the baby was in a metal shed out in the back. Courtney said she knew that Bradley was going to try to pin this on her because he said, "Bitch, I'll take you down with me." Courtney told us that Bentley can prove she was home on the 3rd. Courtney is confronted with her explanation that Rebecca willingly got into the truck with Bradley to go for a ride, that he then murdered her and cut the fetus out. When confronted with cellular telephone data and location data records, Courtney announces that Bradley had taken her phone so she couldn't call the police. Her story it's just evolving as we go. She's got this response for everything. Courtney is confronted with her version of events being difficult to believe. Eventually, Courtney said she's going to tell us what happened. Brad took her. He brought the baby back. I tried. I didn't. I couldn't. I tried to save my grandson and began to cry. Agent asked how Bradley took Rebecca. Courtney said he pulled her out of the car and she got in the truck. Courtney admits that she told Rebecca she was going to come with her. She places herself in the truck on the passenger side. Rebecca's in the middle, and Bradley's driving. Bradley has the knife, according to her. From the house, they drove to where Bradley ended up stabbing Rebecca. She claimed not to know Rebecca was going to die that night. Courtney places Bradley across the road from their house as she's arriving with Rebecca. Courtney admits she knows something's going to go down because Bradley's on foot across the road waiting for them to arrive. She reported that Bradley approached the vehicle by just walking up to her side, grabbed Rebecca by the arm and got her out of the Escape, and she willingly gets into the pickup to go for a ride after he told Rebecca, "Your mom's going with us." But again, supposedly Kimberly and Rebecca could not stand Bradley. And even if he pulled her into the truck, it seems like she would be pitching a fit and not wanting to go anywhere with him if she can't stand him. Unless there was some form of threat that's, who knows These two nutcases, they just blame each other. They think that's going to work. I got to take a drink of water. Okay. You know, this stuff's so deep, you got to take a breath for a second. It's really bad. From the house, they drive to where Rebecca gets stabbed. Courtney said that Bradley told Rebecca to get out of the truck while Courtney stayed inside. Rebecca is taken to the rear of the truck where Bradley stabbed her. At first, she said she assumed that he stabbed Rebecca because he came back with a knife all bloody. When Agent asked Courtney at what point did she cut the baby out of Rebecca, she answered, "I didn't, he did, and he handed him to me." Courtney also said the baby wasn't breathing and she didn't hear him cry. Courtney claimed to have never gotten out of the truck because she didn't have her crutches or her wheelchair. Okay, I wasn't aware she needed crutches or a wheelchair. All right. She again claimed that this was a revenge plot because she had a sexual relationship with Rich and because Rich got Bradley put in jail. She claimed that Bradley wanted to hurt Rich. But there's a lot of ways to hurt Rich. This is not one of those. This is just not the way you hurt Rich. It just doesn't sound right to me. When confronted with the report that she stabbed Rebecca while driving down the road, Courtney denied it. When asked how all the blood got in the truck, she answered that it was from the knife, then suggested that Rebecca got back in the truck. Eventually, Courtney admitted that she cut the baby out of Rebecca in an attempt to save him so she could take him to Rich. All right, so now we got an admission. Now she just corroborated Bradley's story on that one major point, which means it's leaning more likely that Brad's version of the events are closer to the truth. When she cut the baby out, Courtney said that Rebecca was still conscious, and Bradley was holding the knife to her throat. He told Rebecca to lay back, your baby's going to die. Courtney denied that Rebecca had been stabbed while in the truck. Revisiting the driveway. All right, so if she wasn't stabbed in the truck, then why did both of them say there would be blood in the floorboard of the truck? Because nobody cleaned that, and that it might be in the glove box. Revisiting the driveway, agents asked if Bradley held the knife to her throat to get her in the truck, and Courtney nodded her head in the affirmative. While in the truck, Bradley put the knife down by his side. During the ride, agent asked what is said to Rebecca. Courtney said she told her everything is going to be okay. Courtney said she promised that Bradley wasn't going to hurt her. When they got to the area where this happened, Bradley pulls Rebecca out of the truck, spun her around, and stabbed her in the back 4 or 5 times. Now, I don't know if we can get it, but I'd like to see what the autopsy results were, the medical examiner's results on how she really died. Was she stabbed in the front, the back? I mean, we know about the baby coming out, but I'm just wondering if that part's true. Bradley brings Rebecca to her side of the truck and is sitting next to the door, and Bradley ordered Rebecca to lay back. Courtney says she told Rebecca that if she doesn't lay back, her baby's going to die. Courtney looked in the truck and saw the scalpel, so she hurried up and did it, but her grandson wasn't breathing. Courtney said she started her incision along her belly, and Bradley told her to cut downward. It would be easier. Courtney reported that Rebecca is still talking at this time, telling her to hurry up and asking if he is out. She said she told Rebecca he was about out and that Rebecca told her to save him. When she got the baby out, Courtney said she had dental floss from the dash that she had put in her pocket because she knew she would have to tie off the umbilical cord. All right, there's your premeditation right there. I mean, not that you needed that because this whole thing was planned, but that piece right there is critical. She reported tying off the umbilical cord the best that she could. I mean, I could argue that bringing the scalpel and the knife, of course, was premeditation, all of that. But this is so clear and specific. Anyway, once the baby was out, she said that Bradley slit Rebecca's throat with the knife. Next, she said that Bradley used a cord from the snowplow on the truck to hook her body to the truck and pulled Rebecca down the bank, maybe 20 feet, pulling her back and off the road. She said he then covered her with leaves. Courtney said the towel was in the truck already, but she didn't know how the scalpel got in the truck. Well, since that was one of her special scalpels from her special collection in her drawer, and she counts garbage bags, I'm sure she counts her scalpels too. She's worried about her son, her 16-year-old, getting garbage bags. Surely to goodness she would have been worried about him getting scalpels. Courtney talked about how she would have come to the sheriff's office if she had been able to give the baby to Rich to report what happened. Discussing this, she claims that since it happened, she hasn't been able to get away from Bradley. When reminded that on Monday she was in Mount Pleasant and he was in Grayling, she said she could have said something then. Courtney confirmed that after she was stabbed, Rebecca got back in the truck. She was asked how the blood got into the truck. No, wait. Courtney confirmed that after she was stabbed, Rebecca never got back in the truck. She asked how the blood got into the truck, and Courtney reported it was from the umbilical cord, making blood fly all over. Courtney said she never stabbed Rebecca. She was only responsible for trying to save her grandson. When asked if she thought she could have tried to save her daughter, Courtney said she couldn't. When asked how many times she talked to Bradley on the ride to her house from Rich's, she reported it was only once. She identified she had the 429 phone, and that the call they had lasted about 10 minutes. Yeah, that's getting stories together. When agents confronted Courtney with the 2 incisions she admitted to having made to remove the body, he asked her she thinks Rebecca would have survived those wounds, and she said probably not. No, probably not. Courtney admitted that about 1 to 2 months prior to this having happened, Bradley researched the procedure for getting a baby cut out. And he wouldn't have done that on his own. I mean, he wouldn't have done that without her asking him. I mean, why? Courtney said that Bradley put the items in the dumpster, but she was present in the Ford Escape for both. Courtney is asked whose idea it was to leave items at the crime scene. She said it was Brad's. She then identified that the items were Kimberly's debit card and a razor knife. Courtney reported that those items were placed after Kimberly went on social media saying that Courtney and Bradley were responsible for the purpose of framing Kimberly. When pressed on the debit card, Courtney said it belonged to James Mercer, not Kimberly, and the card came from Kimberly's backpack. She said he used one of the plastic bags from the backpack to keep it from getting his fingerprints on it. These items were suspected to have been placed by Bradley the day before Rebecca's body was recovered. Okay, so that means they did go back out there. She said he left with the Escape that day for about 20 minutes. Agent asked Courtney to provide some information that isn't already known that can verify her statements, and she reported Brad said it was his in response to Rebecca's baby. Now, when it is questioned that they don't like each other, Courtney said, yes, they do. Okay, so this is completely off the charts here. You got mom sleeping with daughter's fiance. Now you got claims from mom that daughter was sleeping with her husband. I mean, you could not write a novel, a best-selling novel, better than this. And this is all true. That's what's sad. Now, not the part about who's sleeping with who. I don't know if that's true. But it's true that these people are telling these stories. And that is just absolutely unbelievable. Revisiting the conversation she had with Brad a month prior to about C-sections, she reported that he looked it up on his phone. When asked why they were having that discussion, Courtney answered, because that's what he said was going to happen. She said he told her he was going to cut the baby out of Rebecca right in front of Rich. Courtney said she brushed it off. When agent commented on Courtney's story about having delivered a premature baby that was down in the NICU, she denied it and suggested it was a friend's baby that she was thinking about giving up. As she is being confronted with the obviousness that there's a plan for this to happen, Courtney said that Bradley had told her to pull straight in, but she didn't. She turned the corner in her driveway instead. Questioning why he told her to pull in straight, Courtney reveals that Brad had told her if he was going to do anything, it would be right there. When he does grab Rebecca, Courtney tries to get him to stop. But she says he had the knife to Rebecca's throat. He ordered everyone to get in the white truck. While in the truck, Rebecca slid over to Courtney, asking what was going on. She said she reassured her that Bradley just wanted to talk. Courtney described that Rebecca was calm after having a knife held to her throat in the truck. Well, you think? Okay. And then that's the end of this. The sworn statement. All right. So let me see what else I can find us. Okay, now this is from the Michigan State website, and it's a press release. 2 charged with murder of Rebecca Park. And this is December 2nd. Lansing. Today, Courtney Bartholomew, 40, and Bradley Bartholomew, 47, both of Boone, were arraigned before Judge Corey Wiggins in the 84th District Court in Cadillac on multiple felony charges related to the murder of Rebecca Park, 22, of Manton, announced Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel. Courtney Bartholomew and Bradley Bartholomew have each been charged by the Wexford County Prosecuting Attorney's Office with, trigger warning, again, it's for educational purposes only. This is a public document that is on a government website. 1 count of first-degree murder, a potential life sentence offense. 1 count of felony murder, a potential life sentence offense. 1 count of torture, a potential life sentence offense. 1 count of conspiracy to commit torture, a potential life sentence offense. 1 count of assault on a pregnant individual causing miscarriage, stillbirth, a potential life sentence offense. 1 count of conspiracy to commit assault on a pregnant individual causing miscarriage, stillbirth, a potential life sentence offense. 1 count of unlawful imprisonment, a 15-year offense felony, and 1 count of removal of a dead body, a 1-year misdemeanor. Rebecca had everything to live for, and our hearts are with her loved ones as they endure this unthinkable loss, Nessel said. We are committed to working alongside the Wexford County Prosecuting Attorney's Office to ensure justice is pursued in this tragic case without delay. This case involves a truly horrific homicide in which a young woman and her unborn child endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of the defendants. Yeah, her own mom. The brutality and disregard for human life displayed here are deeply troubling. While these remain allegations until proven in court, the evidence reflects an extraordinary level of callousness and violence. We look forward to presenting the full facts in court. That was from Wexford County Prosecutor Joanna Carey. It is alleged that on November 3rd, the couple lured Courtney Bartholomew's biological daughter, who was approximately 38 weeks pregnant at the time, to their Wexford County home. The couple then allegedly tortured her in an attempt to remove the unborn infant, resulting in the death of both. After an extensive search, Park's remains were found in the Manistee National Forest on November 25th. The prosecuting attorney's office is handling prosecution of this case with the assistance of the Department of the Attorney General. Attorney General, Wexford County Prosecutor, and Wexford County Sheriff remind the public not to interfere with the ongoing investigation and to avoid all active investigation sites. And then, of course, they say a probable cause conference has not been set. So I want to see if I can find that. I believe that might have been what our first video was of, but it was hard to tell because they only showed a little snippet of it. So let me see what I can find. Okay, I got a couple more things that I found. First of all, this one is the affidavit of probable cause for Kimberly Sue Park. That's the sister. Affiant, a duly sworn police officer with Wexford County Sheriff's Office, attests to the following facts based on personal investigation or is swearing to the facts as presented by a fellow sworn deputy sheriff to establish probable cause that the crime of lying to police, obstructing an investigation, and making a false report of a felony was committed by the defendant, and affiant is respectfully seeking a warrant for the defendant's arrest. Let me give another trigger warning. I keep having to do this, but this is just such an especially heinous crime. Not that other crimes of this nature are not, but I want to just make sure anyone who might find this triggering has a notice. And I want to make sure YouTube knows we're using public documents. We're reading from things that were released on the government websites or in the public world, and we're not doxing anybody or anything. So these are all public records. On Tuesday, November 4th at 12:44, Kimberly Sue Park, white female, date of birth 8/16/2004, reported her 22-year-old sister, again not doxing, that's public record, Rebecca K. Park, had not been answering since the previous evening. Kimberly identified that Rebecca was last known to be with Courtney at Courtney's home, which is Boone Township of Wexford County. Courtney Bartholomew is the biological mother to both Rebecca and Kimberly. At the time of the report, Rebecca was 38 weeks pregnant and living with her boyfriend, Richard Lee Fowler. Kimberly provided the sheriff's office with a cell phone that was identified as the one that Rebecca had been using at the time of her disappearance. Kimberly was communicating information to agents throughout the investigation. On Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, Kim made statements on a social media live broadcast that she was aware of information that Courtney and her husband, Brad, had something to do with Rebecca's disappearance. An investigator interviewed Kim on that same date. She reported that Courtney and Brad had struck Rebecca in the head to cause her to have a seizure, and when they were unable to revive her from the seizure, Brad contacted a friend who came and picked up Rebecca's body and took it away. Park said that Brad had said something about a swamp. During another interview with Kim on Monday, November 4th, Park told detective that she was and has been in a romantic relationship with Rich Fowler. Okay, this is too much. I can't even. Rebecca's fiance had an affair with mom. Rebecca's fiance had an affair with sister. I'm going to have to pull up his image in just a minute because my mind is just spinning. Did everybody in the county sleep with this guy? I mean, I did. This is just unbelievable. Anyway, where was I? Yeah. Kim identified that her relationship with Fowler was complicated by his relationship with her sister, Rebecca. You think? What was your first clue? Maybe don't get involved with your sister's fiance. On Tuesday, November 25th, a body of a deceased woman was found off the Federal Forest Road 9784, which is in a straight line approximately 2.5 miles west of the Bartholomew residence. A tattoo above the left eye of the deceased person was consistent with a tattoo above the same eye of Rebecca Park. Park had sharp force trauma wounds to her neck, and her abdomen had been cut open. Detectives met with Kimberly Park at her residence in Herring Township on November 25th for a non-custodial interview based on the discovery of the body. And just in case anyone doesn't know, when you're in custody, things are different because if you're in custody, they've got to read your rights. If you're non-custodial, if it's a non-custodial visit, they've got a lot more leeway to just talk to you. Of course, you've got a lot more leeway, too, to just tell them to hit the door. During this interview, Kimberly discussed the relationship details between herself and Richard Fowler. Park made a statement that Fowler had told her that Rebecca had been taken care of and not to worry about it. Park went on to say that Fowler had told her to lie to detectives and say that Courtney and Brad hit Rebecca over the head, knocked her out, and they drove her and dumped the body. Kim was arrested for lying to police and obstructing the investigation at approximately 1911 by the detectives. And she told the detective that she wanted to talk. Okay. This ought to be good. Detective began a recorded interview with Kimberly on Tuesday, November 25th at 20:26. Park was provided with her Miranda warning, which she waived prior to the commencement of the interview. These people, when you've been arrested, you don't talk. Okay, anyway, I'm glad they did. Sorry. Kimberly Park identified that on Tuesday, November 4th, while she was at Richard Fowler's home, he told her that he killed Rebecca Park and he wanted to protect Kimberly by not sharing details with her. We got so many people admitting to killing this poor woman. Park identified that I'd say just get them all. Park identified that during a different conversation with Fowler, he had told her that something went wrong while trying to cut the baby out of Rebecca. She reported that Fowler told her that Austin Nowland had helped him with Rebecca. Park said that Fowler had also been encouraging her to mislead the investigation. It was the reason she was sharing misleading information on social media live broadcast. Park told the investigators that Fowler was becoming concerned about the investigation getting close to him, and on Thursday or Friday before Saturday, November 22nd, Fowler assisted her with the creation of her accusation that she made during the interview on that date. There appeared to be additional unsubstantiated knowledge that Park had about Rebecca. This included a statement about Rebecca possibly having been stored in an unknown location. Agents arrested Rich Fowler for open murder for Rebecca Park based on the statements by Kimberly Park. Agents attempted to conduct an interview with Rich on Wednesday, and he lawyered up. Well, he's the one sleeping with everybody. He's the one that seems to be driving some of this, and he's the smarter one to lawyer up. They interviewed Austin Nolan on Wednesday, November 26th. He denied involvement, was able to show cell telephone records that did not place him in Wexford County area on November 3rd or 4th. Nolan cooperated with a consent search of his cell device and later a consent search of his black and color Chevrolet Malibu. Nolan did confirm that he'd previously been in a romantic relationships with both Rebecca and Kimberly. All right. Okay. I got it. So we got Kimberly and her sister Rebecca. Now, I'm not going to talk bad about Rebecca, but Rebecca's deceased. She was killed, and that's not right. But you've got two sisters sleeping around with at least two of the same men, and possibly one of them sleeping with the stepfather. When Amy suggested this case, I had no idea. I did all this research, and so I was shocked the first time all this came to my attention when I was reading it. But every time I read it, I'm just floored. Just floored. Was there anybody in that county not sleeping together? Okay. On Wednesday, agents began a follow-up interview with Kimberly and were more confrontational with her based on the outcome of the interview with Nolan. Park requested an attorney. So now she lawyered up. Okay. All right, let me see what else I can find. Let me see if there's anything else on this. I don't think so. No, just signatures. Okay, let me see what else I can find here. Okay, this is Richard Fowler. He is the fiance of Rebecca Park, and he's the one that apparently was sleeping with the sister and the mom, too. Richard Fowler, the fiance of murdered woman Rebecca Park, appeared in the 84th District Court to be arraigned on domestic violence charges after assaulting a family member. Okay, now hold on a minute. This was on December 18th. During the arraignment on Thursday, December 18th, Fowler was given bond of $25,000 cash. Fowler was free on bond after his December 3rd release from jail, following his late November 2025 arrest on 2 counts of delivering meth. It's unclear at this point if this is a violation of his bond. A separate hearing will be set to determine whether the new charge is a violation of his bond. Okay, so let me go up here and see if there's anything else we can find. All right, this is 17 days ago. Let's see what this one is. Okay, this is the sister, and that's Richard. Okay? So we know that Kim was charged with lying to the police and tampering with evidence. And Rich was charged with drug offenses. And Fowler's facing a potential life sentence after being charged with 2 counts of delivering meth. I mean, it looks to me like he's a habitual offender. Let me go back up here and see what else we can find. In YouTube, this is all public information. I'm not doxing anyone or doing anything inappropriate here. These are all public documents. Court delays. I saw on someone's channel, but I could not download it, that there was a hearing and okay, here's one. Rebecca Park's sister and fiance bonds reduced from $750,000, $1 million to $5,000 and released from jail. I'm not quite sure why that is. Well, let me see what else I can find here. I found this. And you go to that site. This is where a lot of the documents are. Let me close that one out over there. This is where a lot of the documents are right here. Now, we already went through this one. This was the affidavit for Kimberly. We went through that one. This one's for Brad. This one's for Brad. This is the actual charging document. We already went through that when we went through the PCAs. That's the complaints. That's the one against Kimberly. Okay. Okay, then I don't see anything else that shows. Let me see if I can find anything. We'll have to keep following this case as it moves through the court system. This could be an interesting case to watch in the trial. I mean, as sad as it really is, it's a tragic case. But there are a lot of he said, she said, pointing to this one, pointing to that one. So it'll be interesting to see if Courtney points her finger completely at Bradley, even though she said what she did. It'll be interesting if that's her defense strategy, or if they'll try to try them together, which will be less likely of them pointing at one another. It'll be interesting to see. And then as far as the sister goes, I don't know that they've got enough for a conspiracy case. I think they've got an after-the-fact case for her, but we'll have to see what happens, because this is definitely going to be an interesting one. This is Case by Case, and thank you for watching.